Have you ever been tempted by a shortcut? You know, that promise of getting everything you want without all the hard work. Well, today we're going to dive into that very idea, the seductive power of manipulation versus the principles of free will. And we're going to do it all through a fascinating story about a very, very special product. Let's get into it.
So let's kick things off with this quote. It comes from the seller in our story, a guy named Diesel, and wow, it just perfectly captures the manipulator's mindset, doesn't it? Right off the bat, he's shifting all the responsibility away from his product and putting it squarely on you, the consumer. If it doesn't work, hey, that's not his fault, that's on you. It's because your belief wasn't strong enough. It is an incredibly cynical, but you have to admit, a psychologically brilliant way to run a business. All right, let's get into section 1, the perfect product. It's time to meet the man himself and take a closer look at his creation. We're talking about a charismatic seller with a product that seems almost perfectly engineered to exploit our deepest desires for an easy way out. So what is this miracle product? They're called holy tokens. And yeah, they're pretty much what they sound like. They're just simple, round copper discs. They kind of look like ancient amulets, right? They've got a hole in the middle, which, as one character points out, makes them cheaper to produce, of course. And they're stamped with words that supposedly make all your wishes come true. But here's where it gets really clever. The business model itself is basically built on zero accountability. Get this. Diesel openly admits he doesn't even believe in souls, but he has absolutely no problem monetizing his customers' beliefs. He even gives it this modern tech twist, saying the tokens are linked to a wish database on your phone. And the real masterstroke? The best-selling tokens are completely blank. He's selling you the ultimate illusion of control, the power to literally write your own destiny on a cheap piece of copper. Okay, so he's got the product, but how does he actually sell it? Let's move on to section 2, the manipulator's playbook. This is where we break down the specific tactics Diesel uses, and you'll see it builds into a pretty recognizable pattern. His method really boils down to 4 key steps. First, he hones in on a super powerful emotion, the student's fear of failing. That fear makes people vulnerable. Then he offers the magic bullet, a promise that they'll get a pass even if they fail their tests. Step 3 is the real kicker. He shifts all responsibility by claiming that an authority figure, Principal Pent, has already suffered for their mistakes. And finally, he locks it all in by creating these weird rituals, which gives a false sense of control and solidifies his own authority. And this right here, this is the core promise. It's the hook that makes the whole thing so incredibly tempting. You can get the result you want, that passing grade, without putting in any of the effort, without doing any of the actual learning. It is the ultimate shortcut. But of course, this shortcut comes with a price. And that price is spelled out in these increasingly bizarre rituals. I mean, it starts out strange enough. You have to chant, "I believe in everything," and kiss or even lick this unsanitary token. But it escalates. You have to adore the teacher who failed you. You have to spend more money. And for, quote, extra drama, you're told to bang your forehead on the floor. The whole system is designed to break down rational thought and replace it with blind physical devotion. This quote just perfectly illustrates how Diesel builds an entire mythology to justify his scheme. By saying Principal Pant has already paid the price for the students' failures, he completely severs the link between their actions and the consequences. And this is so critical for overriding their free will. Because think about it, if you're not responsible for your own failures, are you really in control of your successes? But as you might guess, not everyone is buying it. Now we get to section 3, the principle of free will. This is where 2 other characters, Evan and Evelyn, step in, and they bring a really powerful counter-argument. They shift the whole conversation from clever sales tactics to a much deeper ethical principle. They actually give a name to what Diesel's doing. They call it wishcraft, and they define it not as some harmless belief system, but as a serious misuse of power. It's all about using your mental force just to serve your ego, to get fame or money or control over others, instead of trying to align with some kind of higher purpose. It's what you might call a spiritual bypass, a way to avoid genuine growth by taking a sneaky, deceptive shortcut. Now, this is the absolute core of their argument. Evan claims there's a kind of cosmic law of reciprocity at play here. The moment you decide it's okay to manipulate someone else's free will, you basically shattered your own protection from being manipulated. You've entered a very dangerous game where the only real options are to control or be controlled. And making that choice, well, it has very real consequences. So in our next section, section 4, we're going to explore the hidden dangers and the long-term costs of walking down the manipulator's path.
This slide really lays it all out, side by side. On the one hand, you have Diesel's wishcraft. Its power comes from the human ego. It's fueled by volatile emotions. Its only goal is selfish gain, and the results? They're temporary and often end up becoming a burden. Then you have the alternative, what Evelyn calls divine precipitation. It's fueled by a higher consciousness, for the good of everyone, and its results are described as permanent blessings. Two very different paths.
Which brings us right back to this fundamental question, doesn't it? Control or be controlled? Once you decide to step into that arena, once you decide it's okay to try and control others, you've accepted the rules of that game. And morally, you've kind of forfeited your right to complain when someone else uses those exact same tactics on you. And according to Evan and Evelyn, the specific dangers are pretty severe. You take on what they call karmic debt. You end up isolating yourself from your real allies. Most directly, you swing the door wide open for others to manipulate you. And on top of all that, anything you gain through this method is temporary and unstable, simply because it wasn't earned through genuine growth. So this all brings us to our final section, Section 5 of Final Choice. At the end of the day, this whole story boils down to a universal choice that, really, everyone faces in one way or another, a choice between two fundamentally different ways of living your life.
Just look at this breakdown of the two toolkits. Diesel's charms are all about force, control, illusion. He's got love tokens to force affection, persuasion tokens to read minds and control bodies. The other toolkit? It's about praying for freedom, for wisdom, for peace, for counteracting negative influences. It's a stark contrast between tools of coercion and tools of empowerment.
And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? The manipulator's path is all about what one person can get for themselves, right here, right now. The alternative is about what a person can become and how that personal growth can actually contribute to the good of everyone. So we'll end with this question for you to think about. When you're faced with a challenge, do you look for the clever shortcut, the holly token that promises an easy win, or do you choose the path of substance, the one that's harder, yeah, but offers real, genuine, lasting growth? The choice, ultimately, is always ours.